This is Evening News. In tonight's headlines, Guyana and Suriname pledged to combat smuggling, slain West Coast Demerara businessman given emotional send-off, and new Canadian High Commissioner accredited. I'm Samuel Suknandan. Thanks for joining us for your Thursday, September 12, 2013 edition of the Evening News. And now for the news in detail. Smuggling and piracy emerged as major problems to be addressed when officials from Guyana and Suriname met recently under the Presidential Engagement Initiative, which was initiated by former President Barra Jagdeo and Suriname's head of state, Desi Boudiser. Svetlana Marshall reports.
Home Affairs Minister Clement Roy led a high-profile team comprising the Guyana Defence Force Chief of Staff, Rear Admiral Gary Bess, Acting Commissioner of Police Leroy Brommel, and Guyana Revenue Authority Commissioner General Kershit Satar to participate in the Presidential Engagement Initiative in Paramaribo between September 6 and 7. At a press conference today at the Home Affairs Ministry, Rear Admiral Bess said the energies of the Guyana Defence Force and the Surinamese National Army have increased significantly, and as a result they have vowed to clamp down on piracy and smuggling of drugs and firearms through joint operations in the Quarantine River.
I specifically engaged the Surinamese National Army in discussions relating to trans-border crime, but how the military can work with the law enforcement agencies. So we discussed specifically joint operations in support of the police forces of the two nations and joint operations in the Quarantine River. The modality of those operations are still to be worked out, but essentially we'll have our resources in the river, they'll have their resources, and it will be crewed by law enforcement personnel.
Additionally, GDF and the Surinamese National Army have agreed to give mutual support in an effort to strengthen both militaries. The Chief of Staff said a proposal was made for Surinamis to capitalize on the Officer Cadet School in Guyana, and similarly, GDF can tap into programs offered by the Surinamese National Army. GRA Commissioner General, who was also at the press conference, said in excess of $10 million in goods are being imported annually from Suriname, with collected taxes standing at $5 million yearly. However, he too said food smuggling remains a problem.
In time, because of lapses on the both both parties, I guess, I don't want to point fingers anywhere. The customs at our end, the customs over there, there has been some stoppages, and we observed that stoppages becoming almost like a trend, going back to the days when we were not collecting as much revenues as we were recently collecting. Despite putting in place some measures to counter it at our end. For example, we have a bond there now at Coriverton, which we are using to store the goods, and that has caused some amount of discontent among the businessmen. So these are all initiatives to counter anti-smuggling.
Additionally, the countries focus on expanding cooperation. In February 2012, President Donald Ramotar and an 8-member delegation engaged in a one-day working visit to Suriname, where an agreement was reached for the establishment of a border security committee as a direct mechanism for information sharing and monitoring, so as to deal with this matter in all aspects. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Svetlana Marshall.
The slain Metamirzorg West Coast Demerara businessman who was shot by bandits on Tuesday was today given an emotional send-off. More in this report. It was an emotional scene at the home of the late Zulfikar Namdar called Vicky as hundreds gathered to pay their last respect to the slain businessman. The 27-year-old businessman was shot and killed on Tuesday evening by gunmen who invaded his Metamirzorg West Coast Demerara home, robbing him and his family. A close relative of the Namdar family expressed appreciation for the support from everyone since the night of the tragic incident.
Vicky was truly a person with an impeccable character. Gentleness is loved by all. He can be capitalized in the highest category of a well-trained kid, a kid that has been cultured by a good parent. This has been demonstrated by his acts to most of us here.
Top executives of the Central Islamic Organization of Ghana, CIOG, and imams from across the country, including President of the CIOG, Fazil Feroz, told the huge gathering of mourners to pray for the family to have strength to recover from this darkness of losing their loved one.
How do you say words of sympathy to someone who has lost their only child? How do you say to the wife who has lost her husband and the children who have lost their father, and to the father who has lost his only son and the mother who has lost her only son? It's very difficult indeed. We can only be comforted as our brother has recited from the Quran, Brother Iqbal and our brother Siddiq, by the words of the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, surely every single soul shall taste of death. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also said, from Allah we came, and to Him we are all returning.
Meanwhile, Housing and Water Minister Irfan Ali also attended the funeral. He expressed his condolences while assuring the family that efforts are being made to bring the perpetrators to justice.
Indeed, we are very happy with the progress that has been made so far. But none of this can replace this great loss to this family. This great loss to two young children, to a wife, to a mother, and to a father. I wish, on behalf of the government, to express our deepest sympathies to this family, a family that is filled with love, a family that only knows to give to society, a family that did no harm to society, but harm came to them.
Namdar was buried at the Metamirzorg Cemetery after a 3 hours viewing at his home and the janazah at the village mosque. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Samuel Suknandan. Meanwhile, 4 persons have been arrested in connection with the businessman's murder which rocked the community on Tuesday evening. Bishar Mohammed brings us that story.
The Guyana Police Force is working on the theory that the murder of Zulfikar Namdar was well planned and executed, since they are in receipt of several leads to substantiate their suspicions. This was according to Acting Police Commissioner Leroy Brummel during a specially convened press conference at the Home Affairs Ministry earlier today. Brummel also expresses concern about the recent upsurge in crime. Top Cop also disclosed that the force also has several pieces of information that is vital to investigations and will tread that line until they apprehend the perpetrators. Meanwhile, following calls by the dead man's father for the Guyana Police Force to be more equipped to tackle crime, Home Affairs Minister Clement Rohi concurred, while stating that the recent criminal activities are also a concern to him.
Whether it's a string of incidents, robbery under arms, resulting in deaths, or whether it's an individual incident, the Ministry of Home Affairs will always be concerned about those matters. We are not insensitive. We are not insensitive. We are not numb to such eventualities. Our responsibility at Home Affairs is to ensure that adequate resources are provided through the budget to the entities that fall under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and in this respect, the Guyana Police Force.
27-year-old Zulfikar Namdar, also called Vicky, was shot at least 3 times to the stomach by one of the bandits who visited the business place under the pretext of purchasing a pack of biscuit. During the ordeal, the businessman's mother, Fazila Namdar, received injuries to her head, while a shop assistant, Stephen Mohammed, was shot to his left leg. Bishar Mohammed, The Evening News.
Sabatini Daniels joins us to report that the new Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana, Dr. Nicole Giles, today presented her letters of credence to President Donald Ramotar, while promising to strengthen the Canadian and CARICOM Trade and Development Agreement, for which Guyana is a beneficiary. The details in this story.
President Donald Ramotar today received the letters of credence from the newly appointed Canadian High Commissioner to Guyana, Dr. Nicole Gills. This was done in the presence of Foreign Affairs Minister Caroline Rodrigues-Burkett and other officials from both countries. Ramotar noted that over the years, both countries have shared relations at the bilateral, hemispherical, and international levels to the benefit of its people. He said Guyana looks forward to the successful completion of the Canadian CARICOM Trade and Development Agreement.
This will serve as a sound basis to support the initiatives of our respective private sectors in their quest to expand business opportunities.
Meanwhile, Dr. Gill stated that Canada's obligation to Guyana is evident in the number of Canadian companies operating here and providing jobs to many Guyanese.
Canada is committed to promoting good corporate social responsibility practices amongst our Canadian companies and will continue to take a leadership role in encouraging transparency in the extractive sector by requiring enhanced reporting requirements of Canadian companies operating abroad.
The two countries have enjoyed bilateral relations since 1966 when Guyana gained independence. Sabatini Daniels reporting for the Evening News.
The police have issued a wanted bulletin for 4 persons. Lennox Andre Herbert, Mortimer Herbert, and Royston Carberry, called Jr., are all wanted by the police in connection with fraud committed, while Sean Williams is wanted by the police in relation to forgery, demanding money with menace, and obtaining money by false pretense. The last known address for both Lennox Herbert and Mortimer Herbert is Lot 60 Lime and Durban Street, Working-Rest, Georgetown, while Royston Carberry last known address is 67 Block X Diamond Housing Scheme, East Bank, Demerara. Anyone with information that may lead to the arrest of the men are asked to contact the police on telephone numbers 225-6411, 226-6978, 911 or the nearest police station. All information will be treated with strict confidence. Join us after these messages for more of the Evening News. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the Evening News. The level of sugar production being delivered at the Skeldon Sugar Factory indicates that the upgrade works done on the facility by Bosch Engineering is bearing fruit. This was the view expressed by Agriculture Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy during an interview yesterday. Liana Bradshaw reports.
Agriculture Minister Dr. Leslie Ramsamy said the Skeldon Sugar Factory has produced an impressive yield thus far, producing more than 2,500 tons of sugar, with the second crop almost totaling the production of the first crop. This, he said, would take the factory's total production for the year so far to some 95,000 tons.
We are hoping to reach 155,000 tons for this crop, and to exceed the 200,000 tons target. So in spite of the bad weather that we have had so far, Kaisuko is hoping that with improved September conditions, which we are hopeful for, and with normal October and November weather, and with the possibility of grinding until Christmas, that we will be able to surpass the 155,000 tons target for this second crop.
Dr. Ramsamy further explained that one of the most important indicators for the Skeldon factory is the ton of cane per ton of sugar, TCTS, which is dependent mainly on the factory. As such, he outlined that the average TCTS so far for this crop is 12 to 13, but it is expected to reduce below 12 as operations progress. However, the minister is optimistic that given the right weather conditions, Skeldon will respond in a positive way. South African firm Bosch Engineering was hired to execute rehabilitative work at the Skeldon factory and had conducted a series of successful tests. Meanwhile, turning his attention to the Enmore packaging plant, he noted that while it has never lived up to its full expectations of production, there is no problem hindering its functioning.
It has to do with how much we have asked it to deliver. Because Gaisuko has never attempted thus far to package 40 to 50,000 tons at Enmore. And that has to do with our production.
Gaisuko produces and sells both bulk and packaged sugar, with its largest contract being for bulk sugar, and after that is satisfied, the remaining is packaged. So far, some 10 to 20,000 tons of packaged sugar have been produced. For the Evening News, Leanna Bradshaw.
Ghana has condemned any form of U.S. military intervention or strike into the Syrian chemical bombing crisis. Today, a group of protesters from the People's Progressive Party and different trade unions flocked the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown with their placards in favor of peace. Whitney Prasad has more.
It's not only Guyana that is against the United States making a military intervention or any form of war into the Syrian chemical bombing crisis, but international communities are divided on the matter. Worldwide, persons are asking the two countries, and specifically the United States of America, to seek a negotiable settlement with advice from the United Nations. According to the People's Progressive Party Civic General Secretary Clement Rohi during an invited comment at the protest, Ghana has never been a country that is for war of any kind. Citizens and government officials today took to the streets in their numbers and protested outside of the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown while voicing their public opinion that peace should prevail.
Guyana has always stood against foreign intervention in any country, even in our own country. So we are here with international public opinion in respect of any airstrike against Syria and any foreign intervention, military intervention in Syria as well.
He clarified that Ghana is not fighting with the U.S. but rather condemning the intended military attack on Syria during its state of crisis.
We are doing this basically to let public opinion in Guyana know where we stand, even though our party has issued a statement on the matter, and even though CARICOM has issued a statement on the matter. Our action this morning is consistent with the statement made by the PPP, by GAU, and by CARICOM. This is aimed also at sensitizing Guyanese public opinion so that they would know that they are representatives of large organizations, political and social, who are against this intended military intervention in Syria.
Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has warned that the U.S. will pay the price for any strike against Syria. He told reporters that strikes would increase instability and lead to the spread of terrorism in the region. He said there was no evidence that government forces had used chemical weapons against their own people. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has once again warned that taking no action against Assad's regime is riskier than launching strikes. When asked at a news conference whether there was anything Assad could do to avoid military action, Kerry replied that he could hand over his entire stockpile of chemical weapons within the next week. U.S. officials later clarified that Kerry was making a rhetorical argument rather than a serious offer. For the Evening News, Whitney Prasad.
3 men are in custody assisting police with their investigations into the fatal shooting of a Corentyne rice miller on Tuesday evening. That is 74-year-old Lal Prasad Jaktio, called Lal of Number 0 Village, Corentyne Region 6. Eyewitnesses say 4 armed bandits had attacked the man's home, which is situated between number 54 and number 55 villages at about 20 hours 30. The wife of the dead man told this newscast that they had overseas guests when the incident occurred. The woman said they were confronted by a masked man carrying a gun in his hands. The man's niece at the time of the attack was held hostage by one of the 4 men and was beaten. Jaktio was shot once to his chest by the bandits, who later escaped. The man was rushed to a hospital and was pronounced dead by a medical doctor. The People's Progressive Party Civic PPPC General Secretary Clement Rohi has said that the main opposition party, a Partnership for National Unity (APNU), continues to call on government to implement strategies that are already in place to curb issues like domestic violence. Whitney Prasad reports.
The combined opposition has been pushing at open doors with the recommendations made, which they believe will address and lessen social and domestic issues, specifically in Guyana. The most recent being APNU Joseph Harmon's comment in a local news publication. It was noted that the government of the day has exhausted all avenues to deal with social issues affecting citizens here. However, this is a mere work in progress to iron out deficiencies that may be the root cause of the problems. PPPC General Secretary Clement Rohi made these comments during a recent conference while recalling that several APNU members of parliament had been making suggestions on how to bring an end to issues like domestic violence.
Mr. Joseph Harmon recently, I think he gave an interview on this question of deportees in the Starbuck News on the 2nd of September 2003. And then Mr. Grady himself spoke about recently, I think over the weekend, about young prisoners or persons of a young age in prison. And then there was also, I think, a press conference dealing with domestic violence. Let me say this, that as far as the People's Progressive Party is aware, many of the things that are being said by these individuals are already being implemented. They have not come up with a single new idea or innovation, separate and distinct from what is being done, from what we understand by the government. So they are pushing at open doors. They are pushing at open doors and simply making politics out of issues which are already being not only spoken to, but being implemented by the government in the various sectors.
But Rohi pointed out that the AFC and the APNU have never yet brought to the drawing board any new ideas, but rather made a call for government to implement what is already embedded into the justice and judicial system. While it is a fact that there has been a rising killing stemmed from domestic violence and other issues in society, government has promised to work along with Guyana Police Force and counseling organizations to find and eliminate the root of this problem. For the Evening News, Whitney Prasad.
A Surinamese was today charged in connection with the murder of Sheldon Chetty, also known as DJ Chetty. More in this report.
The murder accused, 33-year-old Omar Williams of Appinstrat Case 7 Light Paramaribo, Suriname, was not required to plead to the indictable charge, which stated that he murdered Chetty at Tuckville on September 9th. Chetty was gunned down in the vicinity of Jackson Street while having a drink with some of his friends. The matter is set to return to court on October 18th. According to reports, Sheldon Chetty, along with 4 friends, were drinking under a shed in the vicinity of Jackson Street, Tuckville, when 2 gunmen confronted them at approximately 20:49 hours on Monday evening. The former DJ was reportedly singled out and shot about 7 times. The armed gunmen then fled on foot, but the sight of the guns did not deter Chetty's friends from pursuing them. The murderer accused at the time of the incident was caught and severely beaten. Relatives of the slain DJ are still puzzled as to the reason for his execution. Chetty would have been 37 on September 27th and leaves to mourn his 5 children, the youngest being 9 and the eldest 18 years old.
Join us after these messages for more of the Evening News. Welcome back. You're watching the Evening News. The community of Supanam on the Essequibo coast has been plunged into mourning after one of its young residents was killed by a canter truck Wednesday morning on the Spring Garden public road. That is Marlon Viveros, 19. It is believed that the man was lying on the road when he was run over by a truck. The mother of the deceased, Nandani Prasad, said the police broke the sad news to her. The mother said her son went to his uncle's wedding where he performed as a disc jockey or DJ, but never returned. The mother of 5 said based on reports received the incident occurred while Marlon was on his way home. Meanwhile, the driver of the truck, Fitzroy Lloyd, is in police custody assisting with the investigations. Police said the driver is cooperating and he is expected to make a court appearance shortly. According to reports, Lloyd did not see the man lying on the ground and felt the impact after he drove over his head. University of Ghana Vice-Chancellor Dr. Jacob Opede has condemned allegations that examination papers are sold at the university's law faculty. Whitney Prasad has the details.
Speaking at the press briefing at the Turkine campus on Tuesday, the Vice-Chancellor Dr. Jacob Opede said the sale of examination paper do not take place at the university. Earlier this year, an anonymous source issued a letter to the U Wooding Law School in Trinidad and Tobago, alleging that Guyanese students accepted to the institution may have paid their way through. The unidentified person accused lecturers at the UG Law faculty of selling exam papers to students. The Vice-Chancellor and the Attorney General Anil Nandlal were officially informed of the allegations made by the U Wooding Law School. A 2-week investigation led by Dr. Jacob Opede was conducted, but no evidence has surfaced to support the allegation. As such, Opede urged persons to desist from creating a bad image of the university.
The sales of examination paper has been investigated and it doesn't take place in this university. And we really need to be careful. I am constrained in giving this press conference because when you go and say nasty things about the university is read throughout the world. And nobody writes about positive things, and people will just read that negative and turn away. An anonymous writer wrote to the law faculty, the law school in Trinidad, and make allegation that marks examination questions has been sold for this amount. It's an anonymous letter. The person did not put their name. They did not sign it. They sent it to the law school.
He said the letter had no name or signature, but in an effort to clear the name of the university, an investigation was conducted anyway. During the investigation, it was discovered that there was a pass mark of less than 50% for all of the courses. He posited that if the examination papers were sold, students would have done exceptionally well. He opined that it is unfair to discredit the work of lecturers who are professionals. The claim might have been fabricated due to envy. It was explained that the law school only accepts 25 students yearly, and as such, some persons who were not accepted may have fabricated the story to discredit those who were accepted. The Vice-Chancellor said such allegations make the process difficult for Guyanese students to attend the regional law school. Despite the allegations, Dr. Opede is hoping to increase the number of law graduates sent to Trinidad to 35. For the Evening News, Whitney Prasad.
Telephone giant Digicel on Wednesday presented a check to Amerindian Affairs Minister Pauline Sukai to continue its trend of supporting Amerindian Heritage Month's sports events. Digicel's public relations manager Shaunet Moore presented a check to the minister, making it the 8th year the company has been supporting the event. Minister Sukai highlighted that with the support of the phone company, over the years the ministry has not only developed many hinterland communities, but has also sustained and promoted the development of sports among youths within there. Guyana is looking to establish a yachting marina in the near future in aid of promoting yachting as a major part of the local tourism industry. This was disclosed by the Tourism Director, Indranath Harold Singh, while addressing the inaugural Nareed's Yacht Rally 2013 held in Region 7 yesterday. Liana Bradshaw reports.
Alluding to the investment opportunities available for the sector, GTA Director Indranath Harold Singh said yachting is a niche market that can hopefully be pursued here. This, he said, can be done in collaboration with yachtsman David Metilikani. According to Harold Singh, Metilikani had planned to start a marina in French Guiana, and hopefully with collaboration with investors here, Guyana in the near future will house a marina.
We know that this can only grow from here, and the positive words and your satisfaction, your experience here basically will help to spread the word about Guyana as a safe haven for yachts. As you're aware, we are farther south of Trinidad and Tobago. It literally and basically makes us a safe haven for yachts. We are out of the hurricane zone. Guyana has a lot of potential. And you can help us realize this potential.
This is the first time there has been a rally of yachts in Guyana. The GTA director added that the Tourism Ministry's aim is to use the inaugural yachting event to catapult the industry in Guyana and to harness the influx of yachts to develop the necessary infrastructure to further advance the industry. Meanwhile, Tourism and Hospitality Association of Guyana THAG President Kit Nascimento noted that the rally was planned at a recent meeting in Trinidad and Tobago.
The first actual yachting flotilla, not a rally, flotilla, which we organized, were 4 yachts that came here and they sailed together as a flotilla. And it was exactly 9 years ago.
Yachtsman David Matalikani said there is a vast interest for fellow yachtsmen, especially for next year, given Guyana's natural beauty.
Join us after these messages for your Evening News Sportscast, sponsored by Macron. Welcome back, and now for a look at sport in your headlines. Amateur boxers wing out for regional engagements. Boxing coach to attend course in Hungary, and courts launches Pee-wee football competition. 7 amateur boxers and 2 officials will represent Guyana at 2 boxing championships later this month, as the Guyana Boxing Association continues to provide meaningful overseas exposure for its athletes. Avinash Ramzan reports.
Coach James Walcott will double up as manager, leading a 4-member team that will compete in an invitational tournament in Barbados this weekend. The boxers are flyweight Junior Henry, junior flyweight Oren Bancroft, and flyweight open Joel Williamson.
I don't expect to go to Barbados and take nothing easy. That's the kind of coach I is. So I was going to Barbados with the intention to come back with all 3 boxers winning to make sure that Guyana standard up there. And going to Barbados, I know that since Guyanese go to Barbados and make a mistake, they're all over the world. So the 3 boxers that I would be going with, I would tell them from now that I expect reasonable discipline from the boxers them going and until we back home to Guyana.
Winslow Thomas will head a 5-member contingent for the inaugural South American Youth Championship, which is set for September 20 to 29. The squad includes junior flyweight Teflon Green, flyweight Michael April, bantamweight Joel Williamson, and welterweight Travis Fraser.
At this level of games, I'm expecting them to do good. I don't want to single out anybody saying that they will, But during sparring for the last couple of days, people have been looking like medal, but I can only say so from here. I don't know what we're going to meet when we get out here.
President of the Guyana Boxing Association, Stephen Inval, said the association welcomes the opportunity to expose its boxers, as the main aim is to ensure they get the necessary experience ahead of the 2016 Olympics.
Again, we cannot underscore the importance of exposure for our boxers. It is extremely important, and if you notice that this team that's going out is an extremely young team, teenagers and so forth, and it's only important that we start giving them the exposure now. Of the team that is going out, I think we have 3 boxers that have not gone overseas to participated in overseas competitions before. So this will be novel for them. This will be something new. And we've already told them that what we expect from them as an association, because once you've left these shores, it's not your name anymore. You're fighting under Guyana. Whatever you do, will represent this country. So if you do good or bad, it will be representative of Guyana.
The boxers were in training over the past few weeks, and they have all expressed confidence of medaling at both events.
Coach of the Forgotten Youth Foundation, Sir Bert Blake, will leave Guyana next week for Hungary to participate in a 3-month coaching course, which will end in December. The course was made possible through the Guyana Olympic Association, and according to Blake, it is an opportunity he is looking to make maximum use of.
This is a great opportunity for me again, and I would try my utmost best to take all that there is in Hungary for me to uplift my standard, so that I will come back to Guyana and share with the country as a whole.
President of the Guyana Boxing Association, Steve Ninval, said the course has come at an opportune time as amateur boxing is on the rise.
We are very happy that this could have happened. I think over the years we've had a number of coaches that would have gone to Hungary, Mr. Poole being one, and Mr. Carl Franklin, I think, being the other. We are extremely grateful to the Guyana Olympic Association for making this trip possible. And I must say publicly, Mr. Juman Yassin has always been supportive of boxing. I think he has a special place in his heart for amateur boxing because sometimes he bends backwards in an effort to support and help us along the way.
Two other Guyanese, Terence Poole and Carl Franklin, have also benefited from the course in the past. 24 primary schools in Georgetown will contest the 4th annual Courts Pee-wee Under-11 football competition, which is set to kick off on September 28th at the Banks DIH Ground, Thirst Park. Avinash Ramzan attended the launch and has the details in this report.
The tournament, which is a collaborative effort of furniture and appliance company Courts Guyana Inc., beverage giant Banks DIH Limited, and the Petra organization, was launched on Wednesday afternoon in the lunchroom of Courts Main Street outlet, where representatives of the stakeholders reiterated the importance of investing in grassroots football. Courts Guyana Inc., as the lead sponsor, has injected $3.3 million into the event, which will conclude on November 2 when the grand final is held at the Banks DIH Ground Thirst Park, the venue for all 70 games of the competition. The entity's marketing director, Clyde Haas, said the investment in youth football is a clear representation of bringing value home, as he made direct reference to Courts' tagline.
Our aim and our motto is to bring value home. So with this initiative, we are bringing this type of value, the sportsmanship and also the development of the sportsmanship at the grassroots level. To bring it home, and we are glad and that we can add that bit of value to our young people, the future.
Communications manager of Banks DIH Limited, Troy Peters, said the company is extremely pleased to partner with Courts Guyana Inc. and the Petra organization on its Malta Supreme non-alcoholic beverage.
What I would like to say that Banks DIH will be sponsoring this tournament under the Malta Supreme brand, and the tagline for that particular brand is "Be smart, be strong, and be supreme." And we expect the children to participate, play hard, and we look forward to the best team winning, but we know we look also to fair play, the enjoyment. We see this as a developmental program.
Alison Rollins, representing the Education Ministry, said such a tournament will always be endorsed by the ministry as it provides an avenue for children in the school system to become well-rounded individuals.
The Ministry of Education always supports activities like these, which give our students the opportunity to nurture and display their talents.
Co-director of the Petra organization, Troy Mendonça, said the development of football at the grassroots level will ultimately benefit all levels of the game, hence the decision to focus on the under-11 division.
We must recognize the need to ensure the game's grassroots remain healthy, as they provide the platform for football as its elite level. In so doing, the partnership with Courts and Banks, Courts who adds value to your life, and Banks Malta is essential to the development of the game.
In outlining the format, Mendonça stated that the teams will be divided into 6 groups of 4 teams, which will contest a round-robin format. The top 2 teams from each group, along with the 4 best third-place finishers, will advance to the round of 16, after which the teams will battle for positions 1 to 16. Games will be played on Saturdays only, with a total of 12 games per day. Each match will last 20 minutes. The participating schools are defending champions Marion Academy, last year's runner-up Tugfield Primary, St. Agnes, West Rheinfeldt, St. Margaret's, St. Sidwell's, South Rheinfeldt, North Georgetown, Ketley, St. Gabriel's, F.E. Pollard, Enterprise, St. Pius, Sophia, Success, Redeemer, New Guyana School, Green Acres, Stella Maris, St. Winifred, Winford Garden, J.E. Burnham, St. Angela's, and East Rheinfeldt.
Remember, you can read about these and other stories in tomorrow's edition of the Ghana Times newspaper, which can be purchased from vendors across the country. When you're not reading our newspaper or watching TVG Channel 28, do tune in to Radio Ghana Inc. on 89.3, 89.5 or 89.7 FM. Your bridge reports. Welcome back, and now for a look at your bridge reports. The Demo Harbor Bridge will be closed on Friday, September 13 at 11 hours for a period of 1.5 hours. And the Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Friday, September 13 at 10 hours for a period of 1.5 hours. That's your Thursday, September 12, 2013 edition of the Evening News. I'm Samuel Suknandon. Thanks for joining us.